Amid Iran's frustration for a deal with the United States, Russia's struggle with its new reality, and Turkey's belly dance in its foreign policy, reports of a trilateral meeting in Tehran was reflected widely around the world. Why Vladimir Putin and Recep Tayyip Erdogan went to Tehran, and why this meeting is so important just days after Joe Biden returned from his Middle Eastern tour. As a Russian state media put it, it was Tehran 2022, referring to the Tehran 1943 conference, where leaders of United States, Britain and Soviet Union paved the way for a victory over Nazi Germany and changed the world forever. In this episode, we are going to talk about it in the shortest possible way. If you want to know quick answers, you're in the right place. The Syrian problem and Turkey's imminent new invasion, Ukraine war, global food and energy crises, Iran's special bond with Russia and historic balance with Turkey made this meeting a highly special event for everyone. Putin seemed to be so happy. Actually, I have not seen him like that before. From the first moment he arrived and during his meetings with Iranian officials, including the supreme leader and President Raisi, he was smiling all the time. But his bilateral meeting with Turkish president was again with some flaws, as this time it was Erdogan who made him wait for some time. The same Putin did to him before. Putin and Erdogan were in Tehran to take part in the newest round of the Astana format triangle, which also includes Iran. But there were evidence that the Syrian problem was actually pushed to the sidelines, as there were much more important bilateral, regional and international issues between participants to be resolved. Firstly, this was Putin's first foreign trip outside the former Soviet Union region since the invasion. Russia's president received endorsement for the Ukraine war, with Iran's supreme leader Ali Khamenei blaming NATO for what is happening in Ukraine. Iranian supreme leader also said that the West opposes an independent and strong Russia as for Islamic Republic of Iran. He continued, war is a violent and difficult issue, adding that the Islamic Republic is no way happy that civilians get caught in this war. However, concerning Ukraine, had Russia not taken the initiative, the other side would have taken it and caused the war. So only this tiny change in Iran's attitude regarding the Ukraine war was certainly pleasant for Vladimir Putin and enough to make his trip successful. Putin also met Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan in Tehran to discuss the UN-backed proposal to resume exports of Ukrainian grain to ease the global food crisis. Erdogan has sought to help broker talks on a peaceful settlement of the Russia-Ukraine war, as well as help negotiations to unblock Ukrainian grain through the Black Sea. This is while Turkey and Russia were having serious problems in recent years. Turkey has found itself on the opposing side to Russia in conflicts in Azerbaijan, Libya and Syria, and has even sold drones to Ukrainian forces. But the NATO member has not imposed sanctions on the Kremlin and remains a key potential partner for Moscow. Grappling with runaway inflation and a rapidly decreasing currency, Turkey also relies on the Russian market. A positive meeting between Putin and Erdogan could be a major step towards resolving a global food crisis that has sent prices of vital commodities like wheat soaring. Putin's trip to Tehran also comes days after Joe Biden visited Saudi Arabia and Israel in the region, and they are Tehran's primary rivals in the Middle East. Biden's visit to Saudi Arabia did not seem to be a successful one, as Saudis did not accept Biden's request for increasing their oil exports significantly, and also seemed to avoid forming a Middle Eastern NATO with Israel against Tehran. Saudi Crown Prince bin Salman, on the other hand, encouraged Tehran to get closer to Arabs. Also, United Arab Emirates have reopened embassy in Iran, and Saudis are trying to hold a seventh round of direct negotiations with Iranians. So Israel, amid its internal political challenges, still remains isolated in an effort to shape an allied army for fighting with Iran, because Arabs are not willing to do so. Now let's return to Tehran. Yuri Ushakov, Putin's foreign policy advisor, told reporters in Moscow that the contact between leaders of Russia and Iran is very important. A trusting dialogue has developed between them on the most important issues on bilateral and international agenda. On most issues, positions are close or identical. Also high on the agenda was peace talks over the war in Syria, where Moscow and Tehran have opposed Turkish threats to increase military activity. The operation that Turkey is talking about is a part of Ankara's plan to create a safe zone along its borders with Syria that would encourage the voluntary return of Syrian refugees but at the same time, it is considered to be a serious threat for Kurds in Syria. In a meeting with Erdogan in Tehran, Iran's supreme leader, same as Putin, delivered a stern warning against the planned Turkish invasion. Although the final statement warned Turkey against the invasion, though it does not seem to have justified Turks, as just a day after the conference, Turkey's proxy terrorists tried to attack Russian and Iranian positions in Syria using drone, and also Turkey carried out a massive attack in north of Iraq against Iranian-backed territories, which caused Baghdad's serious protests, and even dozens of angry protesters attacked Turkish embassy in Iraq. So Erdogan and Turkey seem to be decisive to carry out this operation sooner or later. But this conference in Tehran also had other priorities that were almost met. If you are still watching this video, it means that you like it, and you will probably like other videos on this channel too. So don't hesitate to subscribe and also to watch other videos. Russian president had to go to Tehran. As I discussed in another episode, Russia needs Iran so bad for a number of reasons. Firstly, Russia needs to boost economic ties with Iran to the highest level, as Tehran is one of the limited countries on Moscow's list which does not pay attention to the Western sanctions. Russia also needs Iran's experience to be able to survive under harsh economic sanctions for a long time, and in this field, Tehran is actually their only option, no one else. Russia also needs Iran's technical support. You have probably heard the shocking news that Russia has asked Iran for hundreds of advanced drones. This historic contract had to be done with Putin's presence in Tehran. Russia is also consolidating its own bloc against Western bloc, which US has been working on since the war broke out in Ukraine, and for Moscow, Tehran is the second important player in this bloc after China. There is also a huge mutual project called the North-South Rail Corridor, which crosses from Russia and Iran to reach India. This corridor could be a real game changer for trade transit between East and the West. There is merely 150 kilometers of the railroad still left to be completed inside Iran, and Putin asked Iran to do it as soon as possible. National Iranian Oil Company and Russian gas giant Gazprom have signed a memorandum of understanding covering several oil and gas projects potentially worth up to $40 billion. Under the terms of this MOU, Gazprom will help National Iranian Oil Company in the development of the Kish and the Pars gas fields. There was also the question of 20-year strategic cooperation agreement between Iran and Russia, which is not still finalized. Though it was discussed in Tehran, a very important aspect of this agreement is that both countries want to minimize dollar's role in their mutual trade. Now, regarding Iran's bilateral issues with Turkey, however, the supreme leader warned Erdogan for two important issues. Firstly, the planned invasion in Syria, and then Turkey and Azerbaijan's plans to cut off Iran's border with Armenia, though Tehran and Ankara managed to reach some landmark agreements. The most important one was that they agreed to extend the gas supply contract, so Iran will be Turkey's main gas provider for more 25 years. They also agreed to increase military technical cooperation, which is a very interesting topic. Iran and Turkey had some minor cooperation in this field before, but considering their fast progress in making homegrown weapons of all kinds, if they really manage to cooperate in this field, I think the results could be marvelous. As the Iran nuclear deal is almost dead, Russia is struggling with the new reality of sanctions, and Turkey's belly dance with everyone is still on the table. This meeting, as portrayed, would have profound outcomes not only for the Middle East but also for Europe and United States. Because, for example, United States has warned numerously that if Iranian drones were to be used in Ukraine war, they could change the course of the war there. The way I see, despite all these agreements and contracts, the main achievement of this meeting for Russia and Iran was to show everyone that despite these sanctions and pressures, they are not isolated, and except the West, there are also other options and choices for them. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe and share your opinion in the comments.